Howdy, howdy. Today I'm going to be incorporating some what to do when someone has a seizure advice, and then quickly discuss my week 3 keto journey. Number 1, please do not call 911 unless someone has never had a seizure in their life.
Feel that you embrace. Come on.
Can somebody call a paramedic?
Call the police.
I say this not to discredit an ambulance service. I say this because if you call 911 while I am having a seizure, I will get a fat ambulance bill that my insurance will not cover and is absolutely unnecessary. All the hospital is going to tell me is my vitals are okay, and then they're going to send me on my way. Didn't intend for that to rhyme. However, if someone has never had a history of seizures in their life, then you should call 911, because that could be a sign of a tumor in their brain that's finally just gotten to the point where it's affecting them and their cognitive awareness. You know, there are numerous other reasons why someone could be having a seizure. And if they've never had one before, call 911. For me, because I don't want a fat ambulance bill, I'd rather just shake it off and let my body do what it has to do. That's a 1A, here's a 1B. If someone's seizure is lasting way longer than 5 minutes and they have had a history of epilepsy, then you should probably call 911, because my seizures have all stopped within a 5-minute time span, like even 3-minute time span. And that's usually about as long as they'll last. I believe that's the average, is usually by 3 to 5 minutes they stop. Once it gets past that point, it's a bit concerning, and that's when you should probably call 911. Number 2, this is a bit of number 1, but I'm going to make it its own category because it's worth mentioning and putting aside, is understand the warning signs. Be aware that there could be warning signs for people. Some people just have a seizure without warning. That's just their usual bit. All of a sudden they're talking to you and then they fall on the floor. For me, I'll have a couple of where I'm talking to you and then I'm kind of like a fish, like, sometimes I'm even doing that, like I'm talking, but then I'm like, it's kind of weird. But those are some warning signs. I'll like twitch a little. I'll kind of like, one of my limbs will like shake, and I'll kind of be like, I go. So if you see someone doing that and they don't have any other disease that you're aware of, except for epilepsy, you should probably tell them, hey. Don't feel like you're embarrassing them. Just tell them, hey, you seem not normal. Are you okay? I used to get embarrassed when my friends would be like, hey, Caleb, I think you should really like sit down and try to rest a bit. Because again, having a seizure is just overstimulation for the body. The best thing that they can do is drink some water, relax a little, go and lie down in a quiet place, close their eyes, reduce stimulation. Number 3, now this is someone's full-blown having a seizure, starting to jerk everywhere, going crazy. Understand that there are different forms of seizure activity. Mine are generally where I'm like, shaking like this with the arm twitches. And my very first seizure, I actually was sitting on a chair and I got tangled up in the cords, like the mouse cord and the keyboard. This was back in 2013. This was back in 2013. So a lot of the equipment in the computer labs, even though they were Mac computers, they still had cords, and I got tangled up in them. So one of the girls that was with me, she was actually a nurse's assistant, certified and everything. She might have been a medical assistant. But anyway, shout out to Courtney. She knew exactly what to do. Courtney Leonards. She knew that she had to like move me away, clear a space, because since I was sitting in the chair, her and another girl helped get me out of the chair down to the ground, made a clear space for me. If you're in a confined setting where everything's tight, like the East Coast where a lot of things are shoved together. That's what I love about the West Coast, is I can actually go like this and spread my arms out and stretch and not feel like I'm hitting something, whereas on the East Coast everything's shoved together. Anyway, so if you're in a confined setting, please try your very best to at least give them space to shake their body without hitting anything. This leads into number 4. You want to do your best to either hold their head, cradle it, or say you're wearing a jacket that you don't mind getting blood on, because you might get blood on whatever you put under their head, because sometimes people, when having an epileptic episode, they bite their tongue and, you know, it bleeds. So just hopefully you're selfless enough of a person that you aren't gonna think, ew, I don't want them to get blood on this, so hopefully you're willing to. And so with that being said, getting a jacket, like unzipping your jacket that you might be wearing, shoving it into the hood. For everybody who worked at Abercrombie like me, you might remember having to do the turtle shell. That's what they called it, the turtle shell fold, where you shove it into the hood and then you pull the tag out. If it's gonna get, you know, like it's like stocked in the back, that's what you would end up doing, and it also makes a good headrest. I know that there was a manager or two that would literally like take a bunch of those out, put them on the ground, and just lay on them. They don't work for the company anymore, but that's just, you know, a little a little funny side story. Anyway, I know if something like this happens really quickly, you're not gonna take the time to do like a perfect arm fold and folding it like this. You're just gonna want to shove it into the hood really quickly, or just bundle your, if you don't have a hood, you'll just bundle your jacket up or grab a pillow, blanket, something that they can rest their head on, because, you know, your entire body is gonna be shaking. You're going to do your best, hopefully, to make the traumatic experience the least traumatic that it will be for them and for you. Because in most cases, when someone has an injury from a seizure, it's because they hit their head on the way down on a counter. Or for me, I usually just collapse onto my shoulder, and I messed up both my shoulders from that because I've collapsed onto either one, and I usually have to like pop it back in after the episode happens. It's kind of gross, but whatever, I've learned to deal with it. In that case, you're going to just want to ensure that the least amount of injury comes out of this episode for that person. Number 5, in the Greek, there were 2 forms of patience. Just like there was brotherly love, lustful love, romantic love, godly love, there are multiple forms of patience. You're going to want patience to endure the traumatic experience, because usually it is very traumatic for an observer. It's not really traumatic for me or the person having it, because we're not really seeing the horror of loss of consciousness. Just the episode itself can be a bit terrifying, especially for children. But for you, you are also going to want patience to endure the duration, because those 3 to 5 minutes can feel like the longest 3 to 5 minutes in your entire life. You are going to just want to understand that this happens, it'll end. And this is what goes back to my earlier point, as if it doesn't end within 5 minutes, then you should probably call an ambulance, because that's when, if it's hitting 6-7 minutes and they're still shaking, you should, that's when you need to call. But other than that, just have the patience to endure and wait it out. And that sounds kind of sad, but I mean, that's what I would want you to do for me. I'm speaking for epileptics who have my type of experiences. Obviously, I can't say a blanket cause, but for me, all these tips so far are what, if I saw someone having a seizure, I would do this for them. Number 6, don't badger the person with questions.
What is wrong with you? But you're not. Stop it! I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this.
Let them know that you are there for them as they start coming to. Usually epileptics like me, many times I apologize, I feel embarrassed, I say I'm sorry. It's very common for epileptics to say I'm sorry, I'm sorry, what's going on, I'm sorry. We apologize, and it's because we know that it's a huge inconvenience and we know that it can be traumatic, and it is traumatic. The best thing to just say or ask is, are you okay? Would you like some water to drink? Would you like this? Don't ask what just happened, how did you, why didn't you? You know, don't ask those types of questions. That's not what we want to hear right after having an episode. We really just want to be in a room by ourselves, wallowing in our own misery after an experience like that, because we want to be away from society. We don't want to be engaging. So if you're there with that person, this is gonna sound weird, but appreciate it. Appreciate the experience, because you could end up being in another situation like that, and in that next situation you'll know exactly what to do. So just know that you were in that situation for a reason, and hopefully you can bring some peace and calm, authority and advice to the next situation that arises like that. That's pretty much all I have to say about the seizures. As far as my keto journey, oh wow, this past weekend was insane. I had so many, I threw a party for a friend. I didn't drink or smoke, but I threw a party for a friend. I didn't get as much sleep as I should have, I'll be honest about that. Sunday, I kind of just slept all day to recover from it. But Friday going into Saturday, I did not get as much sleep as I needed. I just couldn't. I tried going to bed early. I woke up in the middle of the night and I just could not go back to bed. And then my friend picked me up at 7 a.m. to go do a collaborative shoot where I just basically shot her makeup looks all day, and then I shot makeup looks for another client, so I was going back and forth, and then I went shopping after, and then I stayed up till like 3 a.m. helping, I hosted my friend's 21st birthday. I did all of that, and I know that in the past I definitely would have had a bunch of little blankouts, and this time I only had one, and I'm like, wow. So to you guys that might sound like, well, he's still messed up. Yeah, I did, but I know for a fact, just knowing my body, I would have messed up a lot more in the past. So I don't feel like I failed myself. I don't feel like I'm failing. I definitely need to get in line with my sleep. I can't make excuses. I can't let that be happening on the weekly. It's just something that happened this week, and I've made sure to now spread out my gigs. I'm taking it as a learning lesson, and I'm also not consuming as much CBD because I want to see, I don't want the CBD and keto to, I want them both to help me be seizure free, but I really want to observe what the keto diet alone is doing for my body. I will get my test results back on May 2nd from my epileptic, electronic weave that I had on for a couple of days. So once that doctor appointment comes through, I'll be having some more information for y'all. Hope you enjoyed this video and you learned a thing or two for if you are there for someone's epileptic episode. Remember, get them some water, reassure them that everything's okay. Don't make them feel guilty. Please don't make them feel guilty. That's the last thing they need. Other than that, all the best. God bless. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.